Hey everyone, welcome back to the Brokecast episode 3. Thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time, feel free to check me out on YouTube or Spotify under Baroque_cast. So far we've been having a lot of fun together doing these little podcasts, and we're going to continue doing them and see where we go from here. I hope everyone's enjoying the content I'm putting out, and if you have any suggestions, recommendations, please let me know. Again, like and subscribe, and we'll go from here. But today's episode is going to be on balance, right? And this is something that I find to be one of the most important subjects in everyone's lives, and I think that they completely ignore it most of the time. I know that I do a lot of times, but it's something that I always fall back on and kind of realize would have made the difference between success and perhaps lesser than that, whatever that may be, failure, or a half success. You could have always done better. But essentially, what I mean by this is when you look at your life, you can slice and dice it 100 different ways. But if you cut it out between spirituality, between your career, between your interests outside of your career, which could be like personal interests, between your family, it doesn't matter how many levels to this you go. What I'm trying to say is you have to have everything in balance to be successful at any of the one things. And what I mean by successful is to really make strides without creating a deficit somewhere else where you then have to take focus off the thing you're interested in or trying to actually achieve or do better in or grow from or learn from, to then fix something that you could have simply paved over if you would have had more balance in your life, right? So if you took anything, simply career success could be one example. And you looked at that and said, okay, if you're someone who wants to achieve career success, well, then what should you do? Well, a lot of people, they say, okay, we'll just focus all your efforts on your career. Well, I think that's personally the wrong approach. And the reason for that is if you focus all of your efforts on your career, then you're going to miss out on things that are super important that are going to hurt you later, like family. We all have a limited time with the people we see. You got to spend some time with them. Otherwise, it's like, what are you going to do when they're gone? Now, some people may say, well, I don't have any family to rely on, and that's something that is very personal to them. And it's like, well, I'm sure you have some friends that care about you as well. Then it's like, why don't you spend some time with them to kind of give your life balance? They're going to bring in different viewpoints that are going to help enrich your own life. Again, if you're only focused on career, it's like, well, what are you doing to achieve your own personal goals outside of career? Maybe you're a mountain biker. Are you focusing on improving your skill, your craft, doing what you enjoy, which is going to make you happier in general? Or are you just throwing all your efforts on career where it's like, okay, let's say you get to a point you're happy in your career and you're miserable with the rest of your life? Was that the goal? Surely I don't think so. I think the goal is to be happy. I think that's a goal that everyone has. And oftentimes we fall out of alignment with that goal when we focus on certain things too much, or we don't focus on things enough. One of the ways I try to incorporate this in my life, and I recommend everyone else, is through some type of physical activity that you throw into your life, right? It doesn't really matter what it is. But the important part is that you get something in there, and that helps keep your body fresh. Something that, till the day you die, you're going to be living with, whether you like it or not. But, it's always good to keep fresh, to keep sharp, to be ready. Now, I don't advocate going overboard and becoming some person who just lives in the gym for 6 hours a day, but it's requires balance, right? Maybe 3-4 days a week, something like that. Start with 2 if you can only do that. Whatever you can work towards, you want to incorporate some of the things that you're weak in into your life. And I'm just using this as an example. Let's say you are, absolutely killing it in the gym. You hit the gym every day. Well, maybe that's not so great. Is your diet on point? Are you really focusing on that specific part of it, right? Because diet's a big piece of that as well. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, let's say you have the best body. Does that really matter at the end of the day if you can't do anything with it, in a sense that you're probably tired from working out so many hours a day? You're probably a little bit miserable because you've been forcing yourself to eat, these calorie restricted meals where you're just hungry. These are just ideas and basically examples of how someone can basically have their life out of balance, right? Oftentimes I go back to this one quote, and I want to make sure that I don't bastardize it because it's one of my favorite quotes, and I pulled it up right before this video, and it was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to start this video. But essentially the quote is from Bruce Lee, and the quote is, "It's like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you'll miss all that heavenly glory." And what he's trying to say is, he's talking to another person in this scene, in this movie he was making. And he's saying, if you're basically focusing on your goals, if you're focusing on what you want, you're going to miss everything else that comes with it. And then you've lost the point of what you're trying to do to begin with. It's kind of hard to conceptualize, but if you think about it, it really does resonate with a lot of people. It definitely resonates with me. And the reason for that is, I'm someone who's very determined. I like to get things done. I like to focus on something. I like to accomplish it. I know a lot of you out there are as well. And if all you do is focus on getting the job done, sometimes you miss the point of why you engaged to begin with, right? And that's something that can definitely hurt you later on. A great example that I have from my life, personally, is in my own religion, right? I'm Orthodox Christian, and I would actually compare myself pretty closely to what the Chinese have as what they created, which was Buddhism, right? They're very similar religions. They actually really do focus a lot on balance, okay? And within the context of what I'm saying is that everything in your life must have balance, okay? You shouldn't be attached to certain things. You shouldn't be overly focused on worldly ideas, okay? And for me, spirituality came to be a hindrance to actually achieving my own goals within spirituality, which is quite interesting. Now, I am someone who is like gung-ho, go to church all the time, do this, yada, yada. And I realized when I was younger, doing that misses the point of why you're actually going to church, because I was so focused on achieving what I wanted instead of actually learning about the religion, learning about what is important and what makes a good Christian, and then trying to follow those ideas through and add them to my own life. That is something that has also happened to me in work many times. I can't count how many times at work that I've essentially focused all my efforts, energy, and abilities on trying to achieve the end result of successfully completing some project. And then at the end of the day, I did, but you take a look at all the other things you were working on, and everything else fell through. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, the rest of my life is just, kind of falling apart, at least in the consulting world. I don't know if there's any other consultants out there, but it's kind of my, one of my problems is focusing too much on work and trying to let go. But one of the other main points to this is also, having balance in your life allows you to excel in the areas you want to more. And what I mean by this is, and we can use myself as an example because that's just what I have off the top of my head right now, and we just got off this example myself, is if I'm focusing on a work project, I have to put physical fitness at a big piece of my as almost another second job, right? And the reason for that is at least the line of work that I do, strategy consulting, requires a lot of thinking abstractly and considering ideas that you may not have any idea about or know anything about, and learning very quickly on it, and being able to basically take things and break them down into smaller pieces. I don't do that very well when I'm stressed, okay? So for me, going to the gym, eating healthy, that directly impacts my level of stress. Seeing friends, I'm a gregarious person. I die if I can't talk to someone every once in a while. Some people are the opposite. Some people are out there and they're just kind of like, if I talk to too many people, I'm dead. And it's like, okay, you got to find what that balance is between, right? But back to what I'm saying. It's like, at the end of the day, I know that if I spent all my hours in the day focusing on that project versus maybe 80% of my hours focusing on that project and 20% focusing on my health slash wellness, keeping my brain and mind sharp, my end result and the product I would have at the end of the day would be better if I spent less time working on it and a bit more time working on myself than if I spent all the time working on that specific project. And it's like that for everything in life. It doesn't matter if it's fitness. It doesn't matter if it's family. It doesn't matter if it's health. Some people are very caring and loving, and all they want to do is spend time with their family. And this is a crazy example, but take this lightly. If you spend all your time with your family, what happens to your life? It falls out of balance. Some of us don't have a choice. Some of us are supporting an elderly parent, a friend, someone who has an illness, and that's a complete different story, you know. But we still should try to strive and find time to make ourselves a little bit better, to clear our minds so that whatever we're doing, even if it is helping someone else, we can then help them better. A colleague of mine in the past said this line to me, and it's always resonated with me. They said, and I don't know if I agree with it 100%. I'm still digesting it, but the line that they said was, I'm not willing to help someone unless they're willing to help themselves. And that resonated with me, right? Because it's like at the end of the day, let's say you're meeting with someone, let's say you're working with someone and they need some help on something, okay. But maybe they're a pain in the ass to work with. You know, who knows how many people out there are really just absolutely miserable and tough to work with. I know I've dealt with many of them. But with that being said, you know, if they're not willing to work on that part of themselves, then what kind of attention are they going to attract? In a world where we have collaboration front and center in just about 100% of jobs, it's almost impossible to find a time where you're not directly interacting with someone. And if you're just on edge because you haven't spent any time bringing peace to your life, centering yourself, then it's like you're not growing. You're just hurting yourself in different ways, right? And you know, a third piece to this whole balance idea is the ability to center yourself. Okay, you know, I talked about religion a little bit, centering yourself in Buddhism, in Orthodox Christianity, things like that. That really helps you put everything into perspective and understand the core ideas of what the goals of those religions are. You know, in just about every single sport there is out there, before a play is done, before a move is made, the athlete centers themselves. They get grounded so that they can generate that power, so that they can generate that speed, so that they can engage at a faster rate. Before speeches are done, people take time to collect their thoughts. People take time to think about what the end result of that speech is going to be. They're putting everything in their life into balance in that one moment. They're taking it in and they're saying, okay, all the work I've done, all the hours I've spent focusing on this is for this moment. And you kind of have to take yourself out of it to do that, right? And again, that requires balance as well. You know, it's like anything else in life. If you focus too much on something, it's going to hurt you in other ways. Some people don't focus enough on things, again, and we've touched on that earlier, you know, but then you got to figure out a way to incorporate that. And it's not easy. It's not. I find it to be so difficult to work on the things that I don't like working on. That's a huge problem for me. I get incredibly bored very quickly if it's something that I find to be droll or uninteresting. And so for me, I have to kind of almost, at least for work sometimes, you know, and definitely in life too sometimes, is just focus on those pieces of me or that thing that I haven't had enough time to focus on, even though I don't like doing it, right? It sucks. It really does. I wish it was easier and you could just focus on the things you want, but that's not how life is. You know, it goes back to the whole time management thing. But again, at the end of the day, you know, what do you want? Do you just want to spend all your hours doing something to get 80% of the goal that you're trying to achieve? Or do you want to spend maybe the best 80% of your hours to get pretty close to 100% of the goal you wanted to achieve? That's the way I look at it. And it's something that has led me to kind of incorporate that idea into my life more and more. Because, one of the things that a lot of people don't see is that there is a certain rate of diminishing returns when you're focusing on something. An hour spent doing something now versus an hour, 2 hours from now versus an hour, 3 hours from now might be slightly different. And the reason for that is like our mental acuity, our focus, our ability to keep doing that thing diminishes slightly time over time over time over time. It's like being fresh. I'm someone who drinks coffee. I mean, I've mentioned that before. And it's like, that's something that helps kind of press that out a little bit further and allow me to get more of those first hours, if you will, of almost 100%. Whereas like, if time goes on, I need to take a break. I need to reset. I need to go do something else. This is why taking a walk when you're trying to think, taking a walk during the day, these are very, very beneficial things. It puts your body in a different area. It puts your mind in a different area. I see your mind and your brain as kind of like a computer in a sense that, you have your RAM and you have your ROM, right? Your random access memory and your read-only memory, okay? And it's like every once in a while, you got to clear your RAM because the cache gets too big and it's filled with stuff. If you're just doing one thing, if you're just focusing on one thing, you got to kind of burn it away for a bit and then come back to it. And then it solidifies into something that's something that you can build upon, something that you can grow upon, something that sticks with you. And so that's why balance is important, because it affects everything in your life. And it's something that we all have to see, right? One of the ways we can be guilty of kind of putting someone out of their own balance, if you will, it's kind of hard to explain, but if you're a needy person, I'm not pointing the finger, but you know who you are. You can be someone who perhaps requests time, effort, energy, resources from people at a higher rate than others. And I think it's important to take a look at yourself and realize, if that's me, how can I, do that less? How can I basically make sure that I'm not unbalancing others, right? That's an interesting one to look at. For me, I personally try to be as least impacting to others as possible. I have my own goals, don't get me wrong, but if I don't have to impact anyone in achieving what I'm going for, that's the ideal for me, at least. But again, it is what it is. Balance is something that you got to incorporate. You got to find a way to do it. Find those things that you're weak in, and that's where you start. Find those things that you don't like doing. Start there. Who likes cleaning? Some of us like cleaning. I like things that are clean. I like a clean house. I like, clean car. I like clean shoes. All these things. Clean bike. Clean shaven. There you go. All these things, right? But if you don't put in the time to do that, right, the little negative stuff like picking up the shit that you leave around the house, dusting, maybe vacuuming your car, it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. Some of you guys are out there and you're like clean freaks and it's awesome. People say it's kind of like some type of disorder. I have no idea, but all I know is make friends with a clean freak because they will absolutely clean everything. Funny story, when I was in college, I used to live in this rugby house at Mary Washington. And it was three of us, two other guys I was living with, right? I would say I was probably the most moderate temperamentally of the three guys in the house. One of the guys was a little bit high-strung. Another guy was super, super low-key. But it was quite interesting because the guy that was low-key was kind of like an absolute clean freak, and he would just be cleaning and cleaning and cleaning all the time, which I loved. I personally loved that. And the guy that was high-strung, he was basically out there, and he would not care so much about the mess that you left around. Now, we're talking a rugby house here, so not the cleanliest standards. I kept my place very pristine, my room, if you will, at least. But, he'd leave plates and dishes and shit everywhere, and it's like, what are you doing? He didn't even like it dirty, but he didn't have that energy or the determination, if you will, to focus on that part of his life to bring balance. And, when you're talking about situations that involve others, that's another interesting piece that has so many implications and complications on top of it, because you're now not talking about balance within your own life. You're talking about balance that kind of, in a collective sense, right? Like, you need to have balance within the group. That's a whole nother level to this pie. A lot of groups, right, they focus on whatever goal they're trying to achieve. And they drive towards it. And at the end of the day, they hit the end of the goal and they realize half the people are happy, half the people aren't happy. And it's because somewhere down the line, you lost half your base. You lost half the people that decided, midway through trying to achieve something, that maybe that wasn't the best way to do that, because you spent all your efforts focusing on achieving it instead of figuring out if it's the best thing to do. And that's what I'll leave you with. There is the balance between achieving something and determining if it's absolutely the best thing you should work towards. So that's all I had today on balance. Maybe we'll throw in something a little bit later today. I'm feeling like I got another topic I want to get out today, but we'll see about that. For now, I'll leave you guys with this, and I will just throw out a thank you for listening again. Again, feel free to like and subscribe, please. It definitely helps me out. If you like to hear anything specific, let me know. Drop it in the comments section, or if you're listening from Spotify, feel free to visit my YouTube channel or my Instagram at BaroqueCast. Thanks so much, everyone, and I'll catch you a little bit later. Bye.